सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Together we'll chant verses 21 to 30, chapter 7, Bhagavad Gita. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhaya chitumicchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham sataya shraddhaya yuktaha तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान् अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसाम् देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते माम बुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तः ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम् नाहं प्रकाशः सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको मामजमव्ययम् वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ताः भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तत्विदुः कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम् साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः. So welcome to our Sunday morning Bhagavad Gita class. Does anybody have any questions on what we have done so far? Please ask your questions now so that during the class we can proceed. So if you have any questions, either ask them or put them on the chat. Okay, all good so far. So last time we had studied verses 28 and 29, where he said, men of virtuous deeds whose sins have come to an end. Meaning, men of virtuous deeds means what? Those who have identified with the self, who have worked for a higher cause in life, not just doing some good actions, random good actions, but who have lived that life of service and sacrifice. Their agitations, their sins have come to an end. As sins have come to an end means mental agitations have come to an end. The concept of sin in philosophy only is those actions which come back and agitate us. Those actions are sin. So, for different people, different things are obviously sin, because what they feel agitated about, what they feel guilty about, is of course each person's individual characteristic. Dependent on how grown we are, we will feel agitated about different things. Some people will feel agitated only when they murder somebody. Some people will feel agitated if they hit somebody. Some people will feel agitated even if they speak rudely to somebody. And some people will not be agitated even if they murder somebody. They'll not be agitated if they hit somebody. They'll not be agitated if they're rude to somebody. A more developed person, even if a negative thought crosses their mind, they've not done anything, but even a negative thought has crossed their mind, even then they will feel, I shouldn't have done this. This is just not right. And even if as you grow further, you will always be looking for opportunities of service. And if you miss one, then you'll feel, oh my God, I could have helped. Why didn't I just do it at that point? So different levels, different things will agitate us. But if we have lived up to higher values, if we have built ourselves a character, then our sins start coming to an end, because because we are no longer doing things that are causing us guilt, that are causing us agitation. So as we grow, as we come more and more in control of our own personality, we are doing positive good actions. So the question of getting agitated never arises. So those men of virtuous deeds whose sins have come to an end, they freed from the delusion of pairs of opposites, meaning that you're no longer now influenced with the ups and downs of the world. The world is such that there will always be ups and downs. There will always be good things happening and bad things happening and all sorts of things happening. Now, every time something happens, if I have to be affected, I can never find stability, right? Now we are in the middle of COVID. Now, are we all going to sit down and cry, or are we going to continue doing whatever good work we were doing in whatever way it is possible now? It will not be possible to do it in exactly the same way we were doing it earlier. Okay, we'll do it in another way, but we're still doing that thing. So whatever we were doing, the business people have to continue running their business. The housewives are continuing to run their homes. The teachers are continuing to teach. The artists can continue to do art. People who are running restaurants are continuing to do some form of food delivery or something like that. Tailors are making masks as opposed to making clothes for Diwali, whatever. Everybody can just change whatever in their line, whatever needs to be changed, whatever needs to be done, and get on with it. Not like, oh my God, अब ये हुआ, अब ये हुआ, अब ये हुआ, तो कुछ ना कुछ तो होना ही है ना. As if after COVID goes away, now no more problems are going to come in this world. No, COVID will go away. Some other problem will come. We are going to stick to what we are doing. Whatever you have decided, you go ahead. Don't worry about ye hua and wo hua. In different ways. And this is the human ability. It's amazing when you see nowadays in how many different ways people are just doing whatever they wish to do. Those who are productive people and those who are unproductive people will say, oh, I can't do it in COVID. I can't do this. I can't do that. Okay, you can't do it. So what can you do? Please do whatever you can do. People who are grumbling in COVID were the same people who are grumbling before COVID and will continue to be the same people who are grumbling after COVID. So it's that doesn't mean please we're unsympathetic. Don't say, oh, you're a grumbler. Don't talk like that. Understand that they are agitated. So we can do whatever we can to, of course, soothe their agitations. But for ourselves, we must see. This is for ourselves. This is not for other people. This is for us to see ourselves that we should just continue in our journey because things will go on, right? Someday the husband will be nice to you. Someday the husband will not be nice to you. Some days children will listen to you. Some days children will not listen to you. Someday wife will smile at you. Someday wife will not smile at you. Someday this person will bother. Sometimes that day will bother. Sometimes this person is very sweet. Sometimes that person is very sweet. अब ये तो चलता ही रहेगा, ये तो होना ही है. There is no alternative to this. It will go on. So when we are living productive lives, our agitations come to an end and we are no longer influenced by the pairs of opposites, the things that are going to be there. We're not influenced. We're not influenced means two things. Number one, it doesn't stop us from doing whatever it is we think we should be doing. Number two, it's not giving us any mental distress. Our intellect continues to be in on top of it. Now, all this has to be carefully understood. I mean, we shouldn't say, oh, I never feel unhappy. No, you will feel unhappy sometimes. That's just the nature of the mind. So let the mind feel unhappy. What's the problem? You cannot have a life where you're only happy. That's not going to be possible. But you can have a life where you're always productive and your head is always over your heart. You can have that. So be careful. We are not trying to deny sorrow. We are not trying to run away from sorrow. We are not trying to lose the rich and comprehensive and myriad expression of life. We're not trying to do that. There will be times when I'm happy. There will be times when I'm unhappy. It's fine. It's fine to be happy and it's fine to be unhappy. But whatever I am feeling, my head has to stay above my heart. That is a human being. That's how we are formulated. That's our structure. Uh, animal and animal is like this, right? That means the animal's head and heart is in the same line. But a human being is like this. That means the head is higher than the heart. It has to be. That is a human's life. So yes, we will go through many emotions, good and bad ones. We keep on top of them. We go through the whole emotion. Not that we are denying the emotion, but the emotion doesn't make us do something that we will regret later on. So that's what it means, freed from the delusion of pairs of opposites. It means you are not affected. It means your intellect is not affected by whatever the mind is going through. And because of that, you maintain an inner equanimity and you continue to do whatever productive work you were engaged in. Such people who have all this are able now to work for the cause of self-realization. Until we have achieved so much, it's very difficult to work for realization because the mind is running helter-skelter. So how does one work for so high a goal and so distant a goal? But when the mind is sort of cooled off a bit, then such people worship me with firm resolve. Me meaning the self. Whenever a prophet used the first person singular, he always meant the self. This thing has created huge confusion. When a prophet says me, he means the self. Now, why does he mean the self? Because for him, he is the self. When I say come to me, I may be saying come to my physical body. I may be saying come to my mind. I may be saying come to my intellect. Because to me, I am the body, mind, and intellect. But to him, he's only the self. He doesn't see anything else. And therefore, when he says come to me, he means come to the self. Like, suppose we say something like, I'm so hot or I'm so cold, then I'm saying I in the sense of the physical body. If I say I'm happy or I'm unhappy, then I'm saying this in the sense of I am the mind, the emotions. If I say I'm so intelligent or I'm so stupid, whatever I say about it, I've identified with my intellect and I'm saying I in the sense of intellect. But when a Krishna, a Rama, a Muhammad, a Christ, a Buddha, a Mahavir, a Zarathustra, any of these people say I, they just mean the self because they have identified themselves as the self. They've understood this. So therefore they naturally say, come to me. But we, as the followers, understand this me to be Mr. Krishna, Mr. Muhammad, Mr. Christ, Mr. So and so. That's not correct because they themselves didn't see it like that. And once you get that, you will no longer see this difference between relations. Otherwise, it's very confusing. You think, no, Christ says, come to me, I alone will save you. Muhammad says, come to me, I alone will save you. Krishna says, come to me, I alone will save you. Are, to kahan jaye? Am I to go to Krishna just because I happen to be born in a Hindu family? Should somebody else go towards Muhammad just because they happen to be born in a Muslim family? I mean, are we always going to go to these different eyes? No, we're all going to the same one which is within us. So, come to me means realize your own self. Your self is no different from their self. There's no difference between us and them, these great souls. In fact, the only difference between them and us is they know they are the self. We have still to find out. It's the only difference. So he says, once you understand this, you worship me with firm resolve. Means you worship the self, your own self, with firm resolve. Meaning you're fixed on the goal of self-realization. That was verse 28. Now verse 29 says, those who strive thus for liberation from old age and death. Old age and death are part of the metamorphical changes that every being goes through. The changes are birth, growth, decay, disease, and death. 5 changes that every one of us will go through. And every one of them is capable of causing us sorrow. Every one of them. Birth, you will begin by crying. Growth, the report of growth starts becoming painful. When the teeth are coming, the child is crying. When the child is promoted from class 1 to class 2, the child is crying. Everything, even growth is painful. Then, of course, disease, decay, death, all painful. So, this is just life. This is how it is in this world. Jara Marana Mokshaya. Jara means old age. Maran is death. Mokshaya, for the purpose of moksha, for the purpose of liberation from these metamorphical changes, from these 5 changes that we are all subject to. Mama Ashritya. They take refuge in the goal of the self, meaning Mam means me. So you understand this now, it's very clear. You take refuge in the goal of self-realization. You make that the goal of your life and you will be released of the troubles from these metamorphic changes. And if you do that, what does he say? Te Brahma Tat Viduhu. Te Brahma Viduhu. They know Brahman. They will they will understand what is Brahman. Adhyatma and karma. Once you understand Brahman, once you understand the self, you will understand Brahman, you will understand Adhyatma, and you will understand karma. Basically, all he's trying to say is that whatever confusion, whatever delusion, whatever issues we have right now, so many questions in our head, right? How will we ever solve every question? Science is now looking into the question of consciousness. What is consciousness? What separates you, conscious being, from other beings? They're going on investigating that. Then sometimes they're investigating what is in the outer galaxies. Sometimes they want to find out what is in the deep recesses of the human cell or of any cell. We want to know where we have come from, Where are we going to go? What are we doing while we're here? So many questions agitate the human mind. So many questions. Now, each one we cannot go into solving. Each one we cannot go into trying to figure out what the thing is. So, what is his advice to us? You find the self. And when you find the self, you will know everything. You will know Brahman. Brahman is the whole. You will know Adhyatma, which is yourself, your individual self. And you will know all karma. You will know all actions. You will know this once you have realized the self. And this is sort of how by realizing the self will you know everything. It doesn't sort of hold with us, It said, "Kaise hoga? Aise hi, kuch bhi bolo." What kuch bhi bolo? There's a reason why they speak like that. Now, take this very common example from Vedanta of the snake and the rope. I'm going to give you two examples to understand this concept that when you realize the self, how do all your questions disappear? So, first example. Take the example of the snake and the rope. It is a darkish night, a darkish spot, and a child sees a rope and gets terrified that he's just seen a snake. So he runs to his father and says, "Oh my God, there's a snake in that room." So the father goes with him, okay, shines a torch on that, and sees that this snake, which the child is not even willing to look at, is actually a rope. So he asks his son, "What did you see?" He says, "I saw a snake." So the father says, "Okay, but tell me something about that snake. What exactly have you seen?" He said, "It's big, it's black, it's coiled, it's in the corner over there." So the father says, "Did you see whether it was a male snake or a female snake?" So the child says, "No, I don't know whether it was a male snake or female snake." Says, "Do you know which breed it is from?" Says, No, I don't know anything. I just know there's a big snake over there." Then he slowly opens his eyes and says, "Which breed is it?" Okay. Now, please understand that this child can have multiple questions and multiple answers about that rope. He knows that it is coiled, it is large, it is there. He says, "I don't know what breed it is. I don't know what gender it is." Right? So, similarly, we know many things, we don't know many things, and these things that we know sometimes cause us great fear. Like that child is trembling and not even willing to look at that thing because he's so frightened about it. But if his father can convince him to open his eyes and look with the help of the torch, he will see that this snake that terrified him so much was the rope. Seeing the rope is equivalent to realizing the self. When he understands that the snake that he was so afraid of is actually the rope, what happened to all his questions? What is the gender? Or what is the species? It's all gone. So when we realize the self, all the questions that we may have, they're all gone because you've understood that all these things that you had a question about were all this the rope itself. It was Brahman itself. And now that you know Brahman, no questions left. Try and think about that example. Think about how different it is knowing things about that imaginary snake versus knowing that the snake is a rope. Knowing that that snake is a rope is like realization. Knowing many things about the snake, such as it is big, it is round, it is very fearful, all these things, is like us seeing the world. And the world is so bad, all these things are happening, it's so terrible, it's so terrible. But the moment you realize that it is Brahman after all, it is what is there to fear? What is there to question? Kah moha, kak shoka. The Upanishad said, what moha, what shoka, what delusion can there be? What sorrow can there be? Kah moha, kah shoka. Tattva anupashyata. For the person who has seen the essence. Tattva anupashyata. For one who has seen the essence. Where is the moha and where is the shoka? Where is the delusion and where is the, the sorrow thereof? So we are deluded with reference to the world, and therefore we have sorrow with reference to the world. Once we understand that the world and I, everything is Brahman, there is no shoka, there is no moha. This is the first example. And then the second example to understand this whole thing. Second example. You are sleeping at night. You are dreaming that you have gone to London to meet the Queen. And you are having dinner with her. During the course of dinner, you spill soup on her. And you say, oh my God, I don't know what happened. Did my neighbor push me and I spilled soup on her? Oh my God, and I spilled soup on the Queen. She's called me and I spilled soup on her. What will she think of me? Can you imagine what all is going through the head of the person who believes that they have just spilled soup on the Queen? Have I burnt you? Are you hurt? What are you going to think of me? What are all the other guests going to think of me? How can I be so clumsy at the Queen's banquet? So many questions, right? But at that time, that fear wakes you up so much that you wake up. Now you've woken up. You find yourself in your own bedroom, in your own AC bedroom, very comfortably, sleeping in a very comfortable bed. Nothing. There's nothing here. Kah moha, kah shoka. What shoka? What sorrow have you got over the spilling of that soup on the king, on the queen? And what moha have you got? Oh my God, I don't know how I did it. What will they say about me? All the story. All of it is gone. So that's what he's saying. That once you understand Brahman, all of the rubbish just simply goes away. Now you get it. How? If you know yourself, you understand Brahman, the whole, Adhyatma, the person, and Karma, the action. Just as in the dream, the moment you wake up, you understood the whole picture. What is the whole picture? That there was no queen and there was no soup that you spilled on her. Okay, you understood the whole picture. You understood about yourself also. I'm not as big an idiot as I thought I was. And you understood your karma of dropping that soup also. Everything becomes clear. What is the essence of it all becomes clear when you wake up. So if you understand these two examples, there's some hope of a glimpse into what the great sages are saying. That understand yourself, meaning wake up to yourself, and you have understood everything. You've understood the whole, you've understood yourself, and you've understood all actions. Your actions and everybody else's actions as well. Everything about Prakriti you've understood. Okay, looks like there are a lot of questions here. Let's see what are the questions. Bharat. So in effect, the verse saying that don't even bother trying to unravel all the mysteries of the universe, just realize the truth. Uh, yes, Bharat, it is saying that don't even bother trying to unravel all the mysteries of the universe, just realize the truth. Yes, those who understood it will just try to realize the truth. However, in our journey to the self, each one of us has different swadharmas, right? So therefore, we will try to find out more about the arena in which we are functioning so that we can do a better job. So don't misunderstand that. So a scientist, for instance, his job is to look into DNA or look into the galaxies or whatever it is he's doing. He has to continue doing that. But one day he will get it, that the answer doesn't lie there. That doesn't mean he has to stop doing it now. He has to proceed doing it. Only one day he's going to get it, that the answer is not available there. When his intellect matures, he will find that out. At the moment, it's only telling us this. But one day when our intellects mature, then we'll understand. So we have, why, in effect, really, one can answer your question by saying, yes, you're right. But we have to be careful about these things because they lend themselves to misinterpretation. So it can't say that, okay, now I'm stopping everything, I'm only going to do the self, try to find the self. No, you have to go through this world to find the self. So you have to continue whatever you're doing, and in and through that, find the self. Is that clear?
Ji. Yes. Thank you.
Sahadev, does this mean that our fear of death goes only after realization and not while on our journey to it? No, not really. Fear of death has to do a lot with association with the body. The greater our association with the body, the greater our identification with this body, and the older one is, the greater will be the fear of death. Like even youngsters are very associated with their body, right? They think I'm the body and they're always trying to look after the body. But there's no fear of death because they're still very young. But if they continue their identification with the body, then as they grow older and they see the metamorphical changes taking place, that's when the fear of death starts. So how you don't have the fear of death is, as we grow in unselfishness, the fear of death recedes. And of course, if you realize, you'll have no fear of death. But the closer you are to realization, the fear will be that much less because you'll be that much more unselfish, which means you're that much less identifying with this body. So, yes, it will reduce on your journey to the self. Okay?
Thank you.
So now let's see. Aditti says, so if we live a life of delusion, Aditti Sheth says, so if we live a life of delusion, should we even bother asking, solving so many questions related to the world, or just focus our energies only on self-development? Only. Yes, just focus your energies on self-development only. But to do self-development, you will have to ask those questions, because how will you develop yourself? We have to go through the world, right? So let's say I want to be a better parent. I want to develop myself and be a better parent. And I have to ask the question, what makes a better parent? If I want to be a better wife because I happen to be married, I have to ask the question, what makes me a better wife? So every aspect, every arena in which you are functioning, you will have to question until you're able to understand how you can be pure over there. So these two things are not mutually exclusive. Yes, we must focus our energies on self-development only. Correct. Should we even bother asking should we even bother asking, solving so many questions related to the world? Yes, insofar as they are pertaining to our arena. We should bother asking and solving the questions that are pertinent to what we have to do. If we don't know what we have to do, how are we going to improve the self? How are we going to reach the self? We'll only recede into tamas. Okay, Aditti?
Yes, Janki ji. So which means the questions will start reducing and become more concentrated on your goal, basically, of self-development.
Yes, yes.
And the unnecessary questions will start getting off the radar.
Yeah. Yeah, what have we got to do? We have so many questions. अरे उसने मर्सिडीज ली, इतना पैसा कहाँ से आया? अरे मैं क्या करूं? Like उसको लेने दो ना, मैं क्या करूं? There's so many questions. Why did that person behave like that? अरे तो मैं क्या करूं? Let him behave in whatever way he wants. I have to only adjust my thing, knowing that he is like that. But why does he get so angry? I don't know, Baba, why he gets so angry. He gets angry, and I have to adjust my behavior with reference to that. So we don't have to keep delving into everything that comes our way. Okay?
Yes, Janki ji, thank you. Thank you so much.
Dhruv Thakkar, is Adhyatma same as Atman? Yes. Yes, Dhruv, it's the same. Now, these terms, Brahman, Adhyatma, and Karma, I have not gone into this much explanation because the Lord is doing it Himself. So I don't need to worry. In the next verse, He's going to say all this stuff that you will learn if you realize the self. And of course, Arjuna doesn't understand a word of what he just said. So he asks him, he says, "What did you just mean?" And he's going to explain it. And you're going to hear some of the most brilliant description of what God is, because it's about to tell us. So we don't need to delve too much into these questions right now, and that's why I sort of gave a pretty superficial explanation. We are going to do a whole chapter on these terms. Okay, Dhruv, we'll do it next time. Amrita Dalal. Until we realize the self, we still have our daily fears. How to deal with those? The great way of dealing with fears is always the greater the unselfishness in us, the less the fears. Okay, the greater the knowledge in us, the less the fears. So if something is general fears, as we become more unselfish, those fears go away. But if they're specific fears, then we have to deal with the knowledge of that specific thing, whatever thing we are frightened of. Suppose I say I'm very frightened of ghosts, then I should understand that and gain the knowledge that there's no such thing as a ghost. How can you say there's no such thing as a ghost? Because can anyone tell me why there's no such thing as a ghost? Come on, you know enough Vedanta to answer that question.
I think it is because they are only souls who have not been able to progress to the next level. They are not something terrifying that is there to terrorize our world.
Okay, but are they there? Do ghosts exist? Whether they are friends or terrorizing is different, but do ghosts exist?
No, because you take both again, right, Chankiji? I mean, the souls are not just.
Not really, because there could be a gap between this life and the next.
Oh, okay.
You all have enough knowledge now to know that ghosts cannot exist.
It's in our dream world.
That way, everything is in our dream world.
Are they souls? It is said that ghosts happen because of their desires which are unfinished, but then for that we take another birth, so there cannot be ghost.
Okay, so you have to express why can't there be ghosts? Explain. Don't give the principle. Why can't there be a ghost?
Because vasanas are I mean the desires are not over. So people say that you become ghost. So for that vasanas you take another birth. So
right.
In that birth your vasanas gets over. So
yes, but it may not be immediate, right? From the point that you die now to the point that you take another birth. I'm only arguing, okay? I'm not saying that there is another birth or there's no other birth, because now everybody will ask me, how do you know there's another birth? I'm not saying there is. I'm saying if your argument be that the person is going to take another birth, then surely there can be a patch in between, right? So that doesn't tell us why it's not possible for there to be a ghost.
Because you need a body to manifest your unmanifested vasanas. You can't just exist without a body, right? And the ghosts are not having a body, so how do they?
Well, actually, if you say that there is a next janma, then you should be able to exist in some form which doesn't have the body.
Right, but would that be in this realm of this terrestrial world, or I mean,
there is no other world. There's only this world.
Right.
Think of the principles. Go back to principles.
Janki, even if they are there, you may not be able to see them because you're in a different plane from what they are in, if at all they are. Because you're
What
on
do you
third
mean by
floor.
that? What do you mean different plane?
Because you're on the body, mind, and intellect plane. So
And they are?
you will see what you can perceive and conceive, which you cannot perceive and conceive when you are in this body, mind, and intellect. Even if they are there, I don't know whether they are there or they are not there, but you cannot see them. How can you see somebody who's on the first floor or who's on the third floor if you're on the second floor?
That's interesting. I don't know whether you know how close you are. Yeah?
Sorry, Janki ji, I couldn't hear what you said.
I said it's very interesting what you have said. I don't know whether you know how close you are to the answer, because what you said is poetry, but behind that poetry is meaning. So do you know what that means? I don't know. I mean, I don't know from your words whether you know what that is. Okay, never mind. Let's go to Vedantic ways of putting this. So,
Hari Om Janki ji, this is Shilpa. The
yeah,
subtle
one
body.
second, Shilpa. Sanjay was about to say something.
Yeah, Janki ji, the premise of a ghost is a separate spirit or self, right? Which has its own identity. Whereas if we work, we are on the principle that we ourselves, individuals, are part of the overall. We part of the supreme spirit, so to say. So once we leave the body, our self merges with that. So we cannot be a ghost because we don't have a separate identity once we leave this spirit body.
Sanjay, if you say that, then we all have to shut the class down, because this whole class is meant so that we merge with the universal soul. If by the simple process of dying we can do it, let's all just die. Why waste all this time? So that cannot be right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's see now. Why can there be no
perceive by the body?
Sorry?
You cannot perceive with the body, mind, and intellect. You cannot perceive anything, whether it's existing or not existing in that form with your body, mind, and intellect. So I cannot see a ghost even if it is there or not there. If it is, you can't perceive through your body, mind, and intellect something that is not in your world.
Yes, okay, Aditti, we'll come to it in a second. Yes, Shilpa?
Hari Om Janki ji, the subtle body is and the causal body. So once we leave, our physical body is gone, but our subtle body is there in some form with the vasana. And that body's desire not necessarily going to be because he has completed this journey. So
if he has completed the journey, then he's a realized soul.
No, this particular physical body's journey.
Okay.
This physical body's journey is completed by him. So he requires another body because this existing physical body is no longer helping him to propel, to move towards his realization. So in that, keeping those principles in mind,
they have got nothing to do with any of this. Why would this have anything to do with that?
Manifest and unmanifest.
What about manifest and unmanifest?
The manifest cannot see the unmanifest.
Okay, you're close. Poonam, do I know you? Can you switch your video on? Nowadays, I don't know who's in the class. Poonam, have you been attending classes or what? Are you first time or what?
A few classes, yes.
Okay, good, very good. Then if you have got this far, excellent. Okay, so let's go to it. Now, what is the principle because of which we need to assert that ghost cannot exist? What is a ghost? By definition, a ghost has to be some kind of being without a body, right? This has to be so. If it is not so, then he would have a body. He wouldn't be a ghost. So it has to be something without a body, which basically means what can he have? He can have a mind, he can have an intellect, he can have vasanas, he or she or it, whatever it is, can have mind, intellect, vasanas. There's a possibility of all this existing, but obviously there's no possibility of the body existing. Now, your only connection with the world, okay, everybody's only connection with any perception is through our sense organs, through our body, right? We take birth only because we cannot contact anything without our physical body. No contact is possible without a physical body. Now, so our physical body is the only way I have of contacting anything outside myself, correct? I cannot see your emotions. I cannot see your thoughts. I cannot see your vasanas. I cannot see your Brahman, yourself, but I can see your body. That's my only way of contacting it. And if I close my eyes, maybe I can hear your voice. Maybe I can feel you. I can touch you. So the only way that all of us can contact the world is by our senses. Now you know the principle. The gross cannot contact the subtle. So even if we say that the subtle body exists by itself, even if we can make such a claim, it will not be possible for this physical body, that means for these five senses, to be able to perceive it in any way or manner. It can't be done because this physical body can only see physical things. It cannot see anything else. It's our only form of contact with the world. We cannot contact the world. We cannot contact anything outside ourselves with the mind or intellect. To contact anything outside ourselves, we need this physical body. So if something doesn't have a physical body, you can't see it. Like you can feel air, right? Because there is a physical entity. But if it doesn't have any physical part, the body can't contact it. So if anyone says, I saw a ghost, not happening, can't happen. So please, we're not discussing ghosts, we are discussing, this was just an example given to say that when you have fears, you must gain knowledge in that particular area so that you can deal with fears. Please, everybody, don't get carried away with examples. Focus on the flow of thought. I hope you remember where we were. We were on the question. You remember which question we were on?
Janki, there's a question. I was only saying that. But
we'll take the question later on, Shilpa. What is, do you all remember where we were when we started talking about ghosts?
About the fears.
Right. The question, Amrita had a question.
Yeah.
But until we realize the self, we still have our daily fears, how to deal with those. So, two ways were given. Number one, grow in unselfishness. Number two, gain specific knowledge about that thing which you're frightened of. For instance, you could be frightened of ghosts. So that was that example. You take another example. You could be frightened in the sense of financial insecurity, in which case you better attend to learning something about finances. You can only feel insecure about it because you don't know what to do about it. So learn something about it. So grow in unselfishness and learn something specific to that whatever it is. Okay, is that okay, Amrita? Amrita, okay? Yes. Okay. Dhruv, why is karma specifically mentioned with the exception of bhakti or jnana? Karma is used to mean everything. It's not used in the sense of karma yoga. It's meant to you in the sense of every action, the whole thing, the whole picture. We'll be doing this, Dhruv. I can see you're quite enthusiastic about this. So next chapter we'll do all the stories about this. Sangeeta. So realizing the self means becoming desireless to experience life any further to attain moksha. So realizing the self means becoming desireless to experience life any further to attain moksha. Realizing the self means becoming desireless, full stop. That is moksha. That is the state of moksha. How to get rid of the fear of death of loved ones? By understanding what death is. Death is them wanting to go on another journey. So what are you frightened of? They are going for they have, it's like saying, my son, I'm getting very frightened. My son is going to the US to study. But what are you frightened about? He is doing something for his growth, his progress, and it's good for him that this happened, that he's doing that. So what's there to be frightened about? Wish him well on his journey. Say, it's a nice thing. What is breaking my heart is my attachment. So I have to learn to want their welfare more than I want my own. So that's how you get rid of the fear of death of loved ones. You are more concerned about their welfare than one's own. Okay, Sangeeta?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Elsie Matthew. Elsie says, but why we are not having the knowledge innately? Why are we in such illusion? Elsie, we have the knowledge innately. The problem is not that we don't have the knowledge. The problem is that knowledge in us gets covered. It gets covered because a mind is jumping up and down. When you sit quietly, the knowledge will come to you. But we need something to quieten the mind. So that's why we do karma bhakti nyan, so that quietens the mind, meaning it subdues, it quietens the mind. And the knowledge which is inherent will come to the surface. Vedanta is never teaching us anything. Vedanta is not the art of gaining knowledge. It is the art of effacing ignorance. When you remove the ignorance, what remains is knowledge. So you're right about this, Elsie. Instinctively, you know it. You already know everything. It just gets covered. And we also experience this, that when we are highly agitated, I mean, more agitated than normal, then you seem to not know things that you know during normal states. So when your agitation comes down even lower, you will know more things. So basically, Vedanta is telling us to remove the covering rather than giving us any knowledge. Okay, Elsie?
Thank you, Janki. Thank you.
Ashia, no identification with the body for the so-called ghost. Not no identification, Ashia, no body only. So if there's no body, this body cannot contact that body. You can't see it, hear it, taste it, smell it, touch it. Manisha, how do we take shelter in him? Is it by doing all efforts in order to know the self? Yes, Manisha, taking shelter in him is equal to self-realization. Gaining enlightenment means understanding that you are him, that you are God. That is complete shelter, right? When your whole personality, when you say I'm taking shelter in the house, means what? You've gone inside the house, right? So when the river takes shelter into the ocean, what does it mean? It's inside the ocean. It is the ocean. So yes, so taking shelter in him means self-realization. For us today, taking shelter in him means having the goal of self-realization. That way we take shelter in that.
So all our life we should do efforts just to know the truth. This is our primary duty. Is that so? And that is what it means that surrendering. I mean, wherever we listen to this, that surrender everything to God. This is what it means. That's what you want to say?
Yes, surrender means what? Surrender means a recognition of my own ignorance. That's all it is. In areas where I know, I don't have to surrender. But when I recognize my own ignorance, then I surrender, right? So I have a stomach ache. I don't know what to do about it. I go surrender to a doctor. I want to build a house. I don't know how to build a house. I go surrender to an architect. So surrender is nothing but an acknowledgement of our own ignorance.
Got it. Thank you so much, Hari Om Janki ji.
Can ghosts enter someone else's body to fulfill their vasanas? No, Sangeeta, nobody can enter your body. You are in good possession of it.
Yeah, okay.
I think Sham Punwani, I think ghost is causal body. Even our intellect cannot place it. Yeah, ghost can be subtle body or causal body. but it cannot be contacted with this gross body. A subtle body cannot be contacted directly by this gross body, and hence there is no way you can claim that you saw a ghost or anything you claim about the ghost, that you felt it, saw it, tasted it, touched it, or whatever you claim. Okay, so then let us do the 30th verse. Okay, this verse is clear, right? 30th verse, we don't have much work, so let's do it. Sadhibhutadhidaivam mam sadhiyajñachaye viduhu prayanakalepi cha mam te viduryukta chetasaha. Sadhibhutadhidaivam mam sadhiyajñam chaye viduhu prayanakalepi cha mam te viduryukta chetasaha. Those who know me as Sadhibhuta, those who know me as Adhibhuta, as Adhidaiva and Adhiyagnya, even at the time of death, they, steadfast in mind, know me. If you know the Lord as Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, and Adhiyagnya. What is Adhibhuta? Bhuta means the 5 elements. So above the 5 elements. What is Adhidaiva? Daiva comes from the root which means to illumine. Deva are the illuminators. So what are these illuminators which we have? We just spoke about it, fortunately. So you now know. Illuminators, how the world is illuminated to us, how it is available to our perception is through our senses. So Adi Daiva refers to the 5 senses. Adi Yagna refers to above sacrifice, refers to the self itself. So that which makes the inert matter into a living being. Now this, he says, if you know me as above Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhiyagnya, even at the time of death, death in this case means the death of the subtle body. But in any case, death always refers to an effect, never to a cause. Such people, they know me, that means they have realized the self. Now, I have not done this in any great depth and detail, and we are not even going to, because the whole next chapter is about all these 2 verses, because Arjuna hasn't understood a word, so he says, what did you just say? So you will hear from the Lord himself. We will just do a very quick summary of what we have done in this chapter so far. So if you remember right in the beginning, he spoke of the 2 aspects of Brahman. Okay, the matter and the spirit. And then he spoke about how Brahman manifests itself. So you say that there is nothing higher than me. Sutre mani ganaiva, I am the sutra, I am the string, and all this world is mani ganaiva. It's all the whole thing is strung on me, as it were. And then remember, he went into telling us how he manifests. I am the sapidity in water, I am this, I am that, all those various things, how he manifests. Now, the vicious are not interested in knowing the self. And it's talking about how we are all the time in pursuit of something in this world, not recognizing that the self is the fountain of all that. It is because of the ignorance of the self that the desire is created. It is the self that maintains the desire, because now we are seeking infinite happiness. And it is the self that fulfills the desire, because in your pursuit of infinite happiness, you keep on and on and on at that thing till you get that thing. You won't get infinite happiness, but you keep on with whatever you're looking for. Maybe it's love, maybe it's money, maybe it's reputation, whatever it is you're looking for. We keep on with it. You will finally get it. So how the self is the base of everything, but the vicious are not interested in that. Vicious means the asuric type of people, negative type of people, not interested in any base, any foundation. All they are interested in, mujhe kya milega. That's their only thing. So what they get as a consequence of that is sorrow. Then we did the 4 virtuous types who do seek Brahman, but they also go wrong. How do they go wrong? Some people seek God for material wealth. Some people seek him for mental peace. Some people seek him for intellectual curiosity. He says, Jnani vishishyate, the Jnani excels. Why? Because the Jnani seeks the Lord for the sake of the Lord. In other words, he understands that the spiritual path is meant for self-purification, self-realization. This is clear to the Jnani. That means a true spiritual sadhak. Then, because the deluded, the vicious types, they don't understand any of this. They seek a finite fruit. And when you seek a finite fruit, kya hoga? Whatever you get will be lost. That's the nature of this thing. So, whatever you get will be lost. That's it. And then obviously, it's not worth anyone's time and energy working so hard to get something which is just going to be lost. And then in the last topic, we discussed how the wise will seek, and therefore gain Brahman, which I think is fairly recent. So you all remember it, about how you will be able to get over the pairs of opposites and reach self-realization through the path of unselfishness. So this was the end, and he just finished with some concluding remarks. And since Arjuna did not understand them, he's going to ask in the next chapter, which is great because now we'll hear the Lord himself explain all of this. So this is chapter 7. There's a question. Arun Sehgal says, if we assume ghosts to be thoughts, then can our thoughts not contact ghosts? Our thoughts cannot directly contact anything, Arun. It has to go through the medium of the body. Your thoughts and my thoughts cannot contact each other. But if I say something, you can hear it and thereby assume my thoughts. Then you will know my thoughts. But directly, thoughts cannot communicate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So with that, we finish chapter 7. Whenever we finish a chapter, we chant the last verse. Om Tat Sadat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Vijnana Yogo Nama Saptamo Dhyayaha. It's the tradition of the scriptures to not believe that we have finished the chapter, but we have only just started the study of this chapter. In symbolic representation of that, we will chant again together the first verse. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yungayaha Asamshayam Samadhammam Yatha Nyasyasi Tachrunu. We'll meet again next Sunday.